the HKCTA now for a few months in the event side of things and some development and international things. So, but it's great to be here, and I think we're in for a very special night tonight. I would like to welcome Kelvin Lai. Kelvin, maybe if you could just stand, who is our new Chief Operating Officer and General Counsel. And of course, our CEO, Mr. Chris Lai, who's no relation to Kelvin Lai. But as I said, tonight it's a pretty special night because I think we're very lucky to have Carlos Rodriguez here, and also Romain, who everybody knows. Where is Romain? Is he? Oh, he's coming in here. But this is a tandem match with these two guys. But I'd like just to begin to introduce Carlos. And so Carlos, there's not much he hasn't done in the game of tennis, and it's well documented. His current role is running the Henin Academy in Belgium, which we're also hoping that many of you will be able to experience and take advantage of. But his career goes so far back, and I do remember he initially came from Argentina. And I'll ask him a little bit more. I just want to hear a little. I think it's good for everybody to hear a bit about his journey. But in the tennis game, accomplished so much. Obviously, with Justine Henin, 7-time Grand Slam champion, Li Na, 2 Grand Slams. You know, that's extraordinary in itself. But a career that's worked across the whole world over many years and seen many changes in the game, and still probably, you know, at the cutting edge of the sport. And it's actually fun to see you. I had a little look at Carlos and Romain out at the Sports Institute today, and I saw you with some pretty extreme grips on the forehands, and I thought, gee, I wonder if you would have initially done that one when you were back in Argentina growing up. But we're in for a special night. The way it will work is both Carlos and Romain will give a presentation, which you're going to find really practical, I think, as a player, as a parent, as a coach. There are so many good takeaways from tonight. But we also want to make it interactive, and we have a bunch of questions already which have been provided to us, which we'll go through after the presentations. But it's also an open forum for you guys to, and at any time, in fact, if there's something that you don't understand or you'd like to know more about, please just let us know, and we'll take care of it. But before we kick off, Carlos, with the presentation, I wonder if you could grab the mic. I think with it's always interesting in tennis. It's an individual sport, and everyone has a journey. And Carlos, I think yours is pretty amazing. And I think before you begin the presentation itself, I'd love to hear a little more about your journey. I know initially you grew up in Argentina, and from what I remember in Europe back years and years ago, a long time ago, but a lot of the Argentinian guys would come to Europe and tend to play more of their tennis there and base themselves there more so than Argentina. But was that the path you took initially?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody, first, and thank you to coming and to share with me and Peter and Roman this moment, because I think it's very special for everybody, especially for me also, because it's the first time that I have this exercise in Hong Kong. Then thank you to be here and to take the time to be with us. Let's say that the tennis career, I'm going to say that I realize I'm getting old because it's early 80s. You know, it's many years ago when we traveled to Europe. You cannot travel going back like now that everything is very quick. We have to stay for 6 months of a year, like Australians when they go to Europe. He knows what I'm talking about. Then you have to play tennis, but at the same time you have to survive. Because you have to eat, you have to pay the hotel room, and when it's not the hotel room, you know that you are sleeping clubs and locker rooms, because it's difficult to make your way. Today is unthinkable, all this. But 34 years ago, I have the chance to go through this. And that maybe is what made me what I am today, because I think that when you do this and you go through, everything is possible, okay? Then yes, I spend time playing, try to find my way, play for money, play tournaments in ATP, and I was a decent 450 ATP player, and at that time, it's not many players like today. Yeah? I don't say that it's much easier, but at least we don't have that competition that you have today, okay? Then, yeah, it's a very good learning situation and life learning for me.
And Carlos, with that, I guess there was a time when you were deciding to make the transition from playing to coaching. At that stage, was there I guess were you based in Belgium or based in Europe at the time?
Yes. Yes.
And what did you see? Look, the next stage for me is I can do some playing and some coaching, or was there a moment you said I want to coach? Or?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, because I even remember today that moment. Is around 37 years ago, which is a huge moment, and I remember like yesterday. I was in the morning. I wake up in the morning. I look myself in the mirror in my.
Where were you?
Yeah, and I say, I think you do what you can. Now it's time to came back to reality, and try to survive, win some money, do your job, and you try very hard, and I did everything. I cannot say what I asked to the kids today. Do everything that you can. Give all of what you have in your guts, and whatever happens, you're gonna win, because you're gonna learn a lot about that. And that morning, I say, look, I just came back from before, many years ago, it's a circuit. It's not futures like today. You have to play 5 weeks in a row to get some points. You don't have a point after 1 week. Then I play maybe my best circuit. It was Yugoslavia. It's 86. And I play my best tennis. And at the end of the season, I was 44 or 50 in the world. And I have $100 in my pocket at the end of all this. And I say, it's going to be tough to do better than that. Then I decided at that moment to quit, and after that, I discovered another passion that I didn't know that I had, this learning, coaching, and help people to succeed.
And what was that first? Because it's one thing to identify it, but then I guess you had to get the job. Did you have an opportunity given to you?
Yeah, it's also very good to point it out, because today you see many coaches that they like to go very fast. And when I start with to give lessons, because I estimate that I'm not good enough. Because it's not because I'm a good player that I'm able to teach somebody to play tennis, and to have the knowledge to guide the players to become somebody. Then what I did is, during 8 years, I took the time to give lessons in the really recreational tennis. Mm-hmm. Adult kids tennis schools for 8 years. I passed my diploma 4 years in Belgium. And when I have all that, then this is my personality. I estimate that I qualify to take care of somebody and learn her or him something about tennis.
Mm-hmm. So like an 8-year apprenticeship that you did. So
exactly.
And at that time you were coaching just club members and everything. Did you have that? Did you start to think, I really want to work with good players? And then obviously very keen to hear the moment of when, say, Justine came along, or just when you started to focus on the high performance side.
Maybe I'm going to surprise you. Never looking for a good player. Never. That is my philosophy. I always look at kid. It's a person, it's a human being. I don't care about the level. I care about what I can give to her or to him. And after that, I don't know. The opportunities come that I'm going to take the opportunity to have a good player. But I'll never look for. First is go do my passion, take some money to succeed and to live, and then the opportunity, if I'm good, the opportunity will come. Was my philosophy.
Well, that might be a good, probably, opportunity to bring into the presentation, because this will be really interesting, everybody, when you hear what you just said is going to come right through in your presentation about the player first. And
yeah, I think that the more precious of my job is the player. But not, when I say the player, before it's a kid. It's a girl with a boy. And then is the player. But first I focus and educate the boy and the girl through tennis, which means that tennis become a tool that they're going to help me and the player to develop them. Because it's something that we don't have to forget. Is champion or not, at the end of the day, the players, they're going to be like you and me. After 35 years old, who is pretty young, they're going to be confronted to the daily life. And if we don't prepare them to that, besides have a good forehand and backhand, we don't do our job. That is my philosophy, my point of view.
well, thanks. We might now hand it to you to go through the presentation. One thing for Romain and Carlos, we won't keep it till the very end of the night because they're working very hard. They only flew in, I think, 48 hours ago, and I know they've been on court all day and back on court very early tomorrow. So we'll leave you to.
Yeah, in either cases, when you have the passion, you never tire. Even when you're getting older than me, you never tire. Okay? Then no worries. Okay.
Thanks, Carlos.
Okay. I'm going to let you read a little bit this because I don't want to go too long, okay? But I'm going to let you read first, and then we talk about this after, okay? It's not what I see, it's what is there. What we have, powerful players, speed make a big difference, power, and big athletes and strong and powerful athletes. Okay? Then, when you take that in consideration, you have to coming back to the early ages to start to build a player in order when he get or she get there, she is prepared to affront the reality of the tennis today. If you don't do that, you're going to discover in the middle of the trip that something's missing, but it's too late. That's why it's important to start from the top to work on the beginning. This is the way that I approach the learning and the development process. Okay? Then we're talking many times, I don't know if you hear about that. They say tennis, mental is 80% of the tennis game, right? I don't know if I hear that a lot. And 20, 30 years ago, I agree with that. Today is 100%. Not 80, not 90, it's 100%. If you are not connected in 100% with this machine into your job, whatever the job is, you miss something. And in tennis today, if you miss something, you go over on the side. Okay, then in my approach, the mental put the player inside, number one. Second, after see what happened in tennis today, is the physical condition. Then, what I say, if you not commit to do your job, if you don't have the athletic skills to counter the power, the speed, it's good to have a good hands and technique, but you're not gonna make it because you don't have the capacity to be there every time and every shot. Then, what I mean is, I need this to just try to play. Tennis changed a lot. That's why the interaction between the needs change. And today, in my approach, is this. And the last one is the tactical and the technical, which is the intelligence of the player to do what he thinks that is the best to do in order to win a point. But when we say intelligent, they say, yeah, it's very clever. No. In tennis, the intelligence, we translate that at the capacity of the kids to adapt to different kind of situations. Then that's why I say, more difficulties you put in the learning process, much better the players they're gonna be, because you learn from the early ages to solve situations, get opportunities, and find solutions. And the technique is just the way that I'm gonna express myself on the court with a ball and a racket. That is it. Some players have more, some players have less, but at the end of the day, is the reality today. Okay? Then I hope that I not go too fast, but you can really understand in the way that when I have a kid on the court, what I try to announce first. Okay? Now, we're talking about players' development. Then we're talking about kids of 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old and more. Then, in my perspective, the most important when I see the kid is first put him in the right atmosphere. He has to feel good, safe, secure, and confident. The communication must go through very easy. You have to put him and her in the way that say, here I feel in the right atmosphere to learn. Because at the end of the day, you have to know that the kids, when they came to the court, they have what they like to do unconsciously. They like to move. They like to socialize. And they like to have fun. And then, if you have these three things, then they're gonna learn. If you don't have that, win tournaments, win matches, very good. If you don't enjoy what you do, it's not gonna work. We don't have to laugh in, no, we have to really take a pleasure to do what we do. And in that way, this is our job to create that. We have rigor, discipline, but at the same time, you enjoy what you do. Because you succeeded, you feel good, you feel important. And that at those ages is what I put the self-esteem. For me, is the key of the success of the development. I don't talking about winning tournaments, I don't talking about winning matches, I talk about kids' development. I don't want to win tournaments, the kid's gonna do it. I am the one that going to prepare everything in order to facilitate the way in which they're gonna develop themselves, okay? And the self-esteem is the only, let's say, value or values that have one difference with all the other ones. Is the only one that the player cannot get the resource by himself. Is extrinsic way to catch the self-esteem. What I mean intrinsic way is the confidence on yourself. You build it yourself. The self-esteem you cannot. Who is going to give that? Parents, very close people around the player, how can I say, feels that they are important for him. Maybe it's 4 or 5, the coaches, important people for the players. Those ones, they're going to boost the self-esteem to tell him that he's doing good, what he has to do, in which way he has to go through all the difficulties. Support him, tell him that you are proud of him when he's not in the right or she's not in the right track, to put him in the right track or her in the right track. But at the end of the day, is show love and show support. This is in the way that you're going to help and we're going to help the kids to increase and improve the self-esteem, something that is extremely important to succeed in life, not only in tennis. Okay? Then you have all these different things that I put here that is extremely important to keep in mind, because, and especially also for the coaches, because we so focus in learn them to hit, to run, and to play good, that we forget, for me, the essential. The essential is this first, especially at 12, 14 years old. Okay, and then in the mental strength is coming something that for me is make the foundation of the self-esteem, is all the human values that we must help the players together with the parents to really build a human being. Then this human being is going to decide how good he's going to be as a tennis player. But first is this. And for me, the first one is this one. I put it first because it's not only in one way. Player respect. Respect for what? Respect first for himself. But it's also valuable for the coach. Then I'm going to give you an example. If I go with a player, and I always did that from the beginning, because that makes sense, you want to understand. And we go to the tournament. The player has to eat what he should or she should eat in order to be performant the next day, right? And we have a nutritionist and we have everything. And we put the player in the situation to respect that. And then I'm going to eat with him or with her, and I'm going to take a burger with the fries and a Coke. This is a big, huge lack of respect for me. This is what I see things. Okay? Then, if we are in this situation, in 30 years of what I did, I eat always the same that the player eat. You want to say, this guy is crazy. Yeah. But it's the way that the player is going to respect you all the time. Because they say, this guy is with me whatever happens. And then the respect is mutual. You don't have to even say something. You have to lead by example. And that for me is extremely important. All of those are valuable for the player, but also and especially for the coach. And with this, at least you're sure that you can get your player to the full development. I don't say that you're going to be a Grand Slam champion, but I say he's going to be a fulfilled person. That is the most important for me, actually. Okay? Okay. I let you read. Okay, then when we have this state of mind, I ask that, for me, it's a state of mind. Is I sleep, I live, I always do this. It's natural, I don't have to force myself. It's not easy to live with a person like this, but it's the way that I decided to do it because I'm passionate for this, okay? Now, we're gonna go to something that we talked with the kids today a little bit. Is in the last, we're talking about the routines and why for the mental those routines are important, okay? Then go through that a little bit and we're gonna okay, you see all those routines, what can bring to the player, okay? But if you look at you want to find yourself in there, I'm sure. Because in your daily life, you are in those routines. And we're going to go through those routines because everybody has. But almost they don't know that they have. What we try to explain to the player is that a tennis player, tennis is a process in which when you play, you don't think. You have to create a automatism when you play. When the ball is going and back, you don't think about it. In practice, you create answers and response all the time. And the game goes very fast. In the best way that you structure yourself, and especially the kids, is from the early ages to learn them that in the daily basis as a tennis player, and I say you use the tennis as a tool, you bring them to structure themselves even when they are not realized that they do it. I give you an example. I explained it today to the kids. When you come into the court, you say, okay, first, I have to be 10 to 15 minutes on time. You do it, yes or no? Second, I have to be prepared at the time to do my warming up. Your warming up must be exactly the same all the time because you work all the muscles of your body before you start. After that, you start in a way to practice and to go gradually in the intensity. Then you go to the practice and you finish the practice. What happens when you finish the practice? You cooling down, you take a shower, you go home and you eat, and then eventually you do maybe another stretching before you go to sleep, and then you go to sleep. And when you talking about tennis career, at the end of the day, you repeat that all the time. But what that brings you is what I try to explain here. The most important is security. When you do this, security, I'm safe, I do what I have to do. I feel more confident on myself. And when I go to the court to compete with somebody that has the same goal than me, I'm prepared to go to the fight because I did all that I can do in order to get the best of myself. When you do this, you win. Besides the result of the match, you win. And that's why at the early ages it's extremely important to do it. And we coming back to the coach, the best person to learn the kids to have this is the coach. Always on time, always before, always the last, always show the way to the player in which way he has to behave. This is no negotiation for me in my job. For the players that I coach, for the coaches that I work with, you lead by example. It's the best way to send message. Okay, now I'm gonna give the word to my colleague that you know, Roman, to talk a little bit about the approach that we have concerning the development of different ages in tennis.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to be very fast because the most important is Carlos' presentation, and especially that this part I already explained in very big details a few months ago, so I don't want to repeat myself, but some of you were not here last time, so it's very important to explain. Like Carlos said, tennis changed a lot, and the physical have more and more importance now in the modern tennis. That's why we try to base and to make more plans about physical training, more than what they used to do in the past. But I don't know if you know what's the most important reason why we do physical training. It's going to be first to be better physically, get stronger, faster, all this physical ability, try to increase to be more performant on the court. Second point going to be to avoid injury. If you are injured, you cannot play, or you cannot play, you cannot perform, you cannot compete, you cannot get point, and you are very frustrated. So it's not what the players are looking for. And the last point, probably the most important, especially for today's presentation, is going to be the physical training, going to help the kids to develop the body properly to be able to play tennis. Because the finality of all your kids is at the end to play tennis. So the physical coach are here to help them to perform better in tennis. And we don't have to forget that. The goal is always for the tennis. So for that, we know now, and it's very clear, that there is some period of time in the growing process where there is some key part to develop. There is a lot of details, but I try to make more general, and I put two different groups now. I put the pre-adolescent, pre-puberty, and the post-puberty, because most of the training going to be based on that. So the pre-puberty, so it's going to be more or less under 12, under 14. It's depend of every kid, but I put it in general. The priority going to be the coordination and dissociation. It's what we did today with Carlos, and we see very clearly that some kids, when they're in the growing process, they lose all the coordination, so they cannot really control the body properly. Such is not really help them to improve in tennis. They struggle because of that in the process of development. So it's our rules as physical coach to help them to develop this ability to dissociate the upper lower body, the right and left side of the body, but to coordinate everything all together. Because if you are not able to coordinate all your body, you will never find the right way to play tennis and to hit the ball correctly. That's going to be the key part. And it's the most difficult at that age because they have some growing peak who give them lose all the control of the body, sometimes for a few months, sometimes very less period of time, but every kids have this period of time that they are growing, that the bone are growing faster than the muscle, and they lose control of everything. But we need to keep solicitate them with a lot of coordination exercise, dissociation exercise, to try to help them to recover about this problem as fast as possible. So that's the first thing. Second thing, the speed, because we know that in the young age, the muscle reacts very well to the speed training. It's not traumatic for the muscle, it's not traumatic for the articulation, and it's the period of time they can increase and improve a lot in the short period of time. And the last thing, some people sometimes are a little bit scared, is to start to do some power training with the kids. I don't say straight training, I say power training. It means lightweight, body weight or very lightweight, with a lot of speed in the movement. And doing this kind of exercise, first is going to help them for the future, because they're going to learn the right position, the posture and everything, which is very important in the process when they're going to start to take more weight for straight training. But it's going to help them to avoid a lot of muscle injury too. We know that sometimes they have like muscle pain because tennis can be very traumatic. The fact to do some power training is help them to adapt the body to this kind of physical training and tennis training. So that's the main point for the pre-adolescents. Then we go for the post-adolescence. It can arrive, some people at 14 years old, sometimes 16 years old. It's really depend, and there is a big difference of every kid. But when you see that the body start to be growing and not grow too much, you can start to put a little bit more weight to get a little bit stronger. Not to look good and not to be strong, but it's because the people in front, they hit faster too. So you need to be ready to compete and not hurt yourself because they serve faster, they hit faster, you need to run faster, so you need to be ready physically to compete with those better athletes. That's going to be the priority of work. The second one going to be the endurance, because your heart and all your body is adapted to this kind of training, so you're going to start to go to the track, to do some interval training, push a little bit more to improve this capacity, because we know that in tennis, if you start to play good, you need to accumulate a lot of matches during the week, during the competition, and you're going to start to play more and more competition, traveling, so you need to be fit and ready to compete for a long period of time. And the third thing is we always continue to do some coordination and some speed training, because even if it's not the best period of the development, it's still one of the key parts of the physical training for tennis. So we always keep doing this kind of training too. I say I'm going to be brief, so.
Thank you, Roman. Very interesting, but at the same time, is one more thing that I like to add, because maybe players, coaches, parents don't realize that. And that I go through with a psychologist of a sport that he explained me that 75% of the mental strength is given by your physical strength and physical condition, which means that all the confidence that you have in yourself and what you feel strong, they have a direct impact on your mental capacity to face things and to go through things. That's, I say myself, I have the proof with the player that I have, which is not that big, not that strong, but extremely well physical prepared. And she can compete and beat everybody, only because she feels strong. She's not big, she's not huge, but she's strong. Okay, now I have some requests about how to program in let's say, an year program for a tennis player. But I say always for the kids. And the most difficult is to take an year and you put yourself, let's say, in October or November, and you say, okay, what we're going to do next year? And you have to make a plan of 12 months' time, because it's the only way to really make a plan and structure the player to perform. The problem that we don't work like that, and I say it's not the blame, it's sometimes difficulties to do it. I not say that it's a mistake. They say what I suggest is not only in terms of program, it's in terms of player vision and player's plan, structure, and focus. The player have to know where he goes, when he practice, for what he practice, and in order to compete, where and when. If he don't have that, it's the same thing that I give you a car, I give you a Ferrari, and say, just go home. But I don't have any map, I don't have anything. It's the same thing. You don't know where you go, but you have a powerful car to go. But here is exactly the same thing. Then, what I like to show you is, at least quite fast, is how we suggest to do in a year, how to program the blocks of training, the blocks of competition, the blocks of holidays, and regeneration, okay? Then here we have First, at the ages, I always say, not at the ages, in any age, because maybe a little bit too much protective with the player, no more than 2 tournaments in a row. Especially if the player perform good. I have the statistics many times that after the 3rd tournament, the player have something. And it's not possible to compete at high level more than those 2 weeks, especially today. And you see, I don't know if you see the males today, the best ones are injured now. Sinner, Alcaraz. And it's pity because for me, they play too much. And they play, but then it's difficult. Then for me, 2 weeks. After that is when I say judicious choice of tournaments according to the level of the player. This is something that is in development is capital, and it's not easy to choose. You have to choose a tournament not too high and a tournament not too low. You have to choose a tournament, and that is interesting to understand in the development again. That the player, when he goes, he's always think that he can make it. He can win. Maybe he loses in the 1st or 2nd round, but realistically, he can make it. If I put a kid today at the 13 or 14 years old in the grade 3, or now it's G100, he knows that he's not going to make it for many reasons. Then why in my development are you going to do this? No reason, no advantage, and I'm going to put the kids in a very difficult situation because he's going to see, oh, he's too fast, too strong for me. Yeah, but he's 3 years younger. Then the choice is still the most important thing actually between 12 and 14, 16 years old. No question about it. Not too high, not too low. Like human beings in the middle. Okay? Now, how many competition in the year? Okay, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Let's say I'm going to range between 12 and 16 to 18 tournaments a year. If we're talking about 13 or 14 and under, 12, 14, enough. Because you have to take the time to develop. Many people, they want to tell this guy is crazy. They have to play 20 times more. Not now. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the mental endurance to do it. They don't have the body to do it. And they have to continue to develop themselves in the daily life. Don't forget this. At 14 years old, we cannot become a professional tennis player. It's a huge mistake. You live with your family in the normal world, because you play tennis every day, it's just not normal, but you try to make the balance on that and the early ages. It's extremely important. Then you have time to do it. 16, 17, 18, you can play whatever you want. That's why I say extremely important that. Now, how we develop the training, the weeks of the training. Okay, if I have, for example, I don't know if you used to do what we call off-season training, which is you have a block before the beginning of the year in which you're training for around 5 to 6 weeks in a row. Okay? Then we have, if I take in consideration, we're going to put 4 weeks because we work in a 3 weeks process. I'm going to explain right after. What we call development week is in the week in which you want to train a lot and you're going to really develop the players in different ways, physically, mentally, tactical, and technical. It's a lot of volume, a lot of demanding in the tactical and the structure of the game. And in those weeks, you have to do 3 weeks in which you have to go and increase the volume and the intensity gradually until you arrive at 3 weeks. Sometimes if you manage, okay, you can do 4, but why 3, 4 and no 6? Because it's proven that physiologically, a kid, after 3 weeks of progressive training, he needs a recovery week. What we call a recovery week is the regeneration week, in which we're going to reduce the volume and keep the intensity. But we have to give the body the possibility to recover, to get in 3 more weeks or 2 more weeks of high intensive training. Okay? Then, this week, we're going to use it also when they're going to come back to the tournament, when they make a final or semi-final that they play good very often in singles and doubles. We're going to give them a week to slow down. You cannot give him or her 3 or 4 days of break totally. It's the biggest mistake that you can do, because it's there when they get injured or sick. Because the immunity coming when you relax, the immunity do this. Then you don't have to stop to train. You reduce, but you keep the activity here and in the body physiologically. You reduce, and then you go up, and you get, and what we call maintenance week is the week between the tournaments in which you're gonna train, but you're gonna keep the level of the players. You don't gonna increase the muscles of the intensity of the practice. You're gonna maintain until she or he goes to the next tournament. And then we have this one that not many people talk about, is the pre-competition week. It's extremely important, that week, because you train, I give you an example. You train 3 weeks very hard, and you have a tournament in the 5th week. Then the week in between, you have to train the player to play less. Then you go down with the volume, you go up with the intensity. In tennis and in physical, the exercise in physical become shorter, less weight, but faster and more explosive. The reactivity in the speed take place in the short period of time. And also you put the player in the situation to play less for 2 reasons. The first one is because he has to regenerate. And the second one is because in the tournament, you don't play 5 hours a day. You play a high intensity, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours, plus half an hour of physical, plus half an hour, 3 hours maximum, huge maximum. Then the rhythm is completely different than what you did in the development program. Then you need that week to keep the player at level. And at the end of the day, the third reason is hungry. I don't play, I like to play, I like to compete. Then you keep the player to don't play in order that when he gets in competition, he's ready to eat everything. Okay? Okay. Now, what I call this is, I don't know if you hear about this, what we're talking about this is a 3 weeks period of training. You have 3 weeks that call this. You can do 4, you can do 6, you can do 8. You do 3, 1 regeneration, 3, 1 regeneration. You have your 6 weeks, and then you go to compete. This mostly you do at the end of the year. when the player goes through this, then you have for the 4 or 5 next months, you have to do maintenance, and the player is at the level. Okay. You cannot do everything every 2 months this, because the player after 6 months is completely exhausted. Okay? Then, this is more or less the program that we use. Sometimes 3+1 regeneration, sometimes 4 maximum +1 regeneration. And then they go to the tournament, and they restart another mesocycle again. Okay? Okay. This is also very important. At least that again, doctors, nutritionists, 1.5 days recovery a week. Not try to put more practice. Don't try to give more rest, because then they come in, they come back on Monday like sleeping, and you lose 1 day of the week because they are too soft. Then you have Saturday in the morning, they practice, and then you have 1.5 days, they relax, and they're ready to play on Monday, okay? And this is extremely important, is part of the training. Because player, especially the kids, what they need at the end of the day. Put the rackets on the side, take good time with parents, brothers, sisters, family, and is the nutrition of the player. If you don't have that twice a year, it's not possible. It doesn't work. You remember, they're a tennis player, but before that, they are kids. Okay? Good. Okay, and now they're going to have a lot of for me, it's okay. I don't, okay.
Over there in the far corner, so good evening, Mr. President. So anyone like a question? Yes, I'll pass the microphone around.
Thank you very much, guys, for endowing us with your wisdom. I wanted to ask a question of Carlos, if I may. Last year, when Justine Henin won the Chattery Award, she was interviewed about her tennis life. And one of the things that she pointed out was that she was very anxious as a kid, and especially around the time when she met you around 14 years old. A year and a half ago, she's lost a parent on and off the court. And I know you also had a part to play as a mentor for her, not just on court, but off court as well. Now, how important is that aspect of your relationship in helping her to develop into the player that she is?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Very interesting. It's very difficult for a coach to have different hats. And that situation is you have to put a real border, because you love the kid, but at the same time, you are not his father, her father. You are not family, but she don't have too much. Then it's normal. Kid feel good with you and with your family, and unconsciously she adopts you. She don't realize that, but she become part of the family. And when you're talking about that, I have a lot of problem with my wife, because she asked me, why you are so distant? Why you put so much distance? And because it's the only way to educate her and to show her the way. If we are too close, she's gonna be like the parents with the kid. And I know, because I old father, my kids, Dad, please forget, don't bother me. You know what I mean? You never say right for your kids. That is the problem. Then I have to put it's very hard, because I love her as a person, but I have to and be a coach for more than 15 years. Then at the same time, I have to educate her, but not educate her like now is educate her like this, because she don't have any reference point in terms of education. Then that's why I learned that when you develop a human being, the players going up. And she's really anxious because when you know her background, it's very difficult to not be anxious when she lose her mom very, very early, when she 6 months before I meet her. Then when you live with somebody that you never know when is going to happen. For us, and we live that during the COVID, the worst thing that we can have is when we don't know. When we don't know, we get anxious. We get scared. Then we have to go through this, and we do it together. And it was very interesting for me to know that at the end of the day, it wasn't about tennis. It's about, let's say, she has to exist as a person, and I have to exist as a coach, because at the time that I meet her, I just leave my country, come to Belgium. And when you leave your country, you put out your roots. You lose everything. And you have to recreate that. Both of us help us to become somebody. Then the connection was very strong all the way because of that. Now, I was very tough at the beginning, as can be an authoritative father, I assume, because it was the only way to go through this situation. And today we work together. She is my boss today. Yeah, it's very funny. But I don't have any problem with that. I like it because I have less responsibilities now. Yeah, she has the problems now. But is that in the way that we try to manage, but the most difficult was put the private life and the professional life on the side.
Thanks, Carlos. We've got some more questions, but there is one question that came through, which we will read out shortly, but it's relevant to what you just talked about. One question was the difference that you had to adjust to for coaching Justine and then Li Na, obviously two completely different people, completely different backgrounds. How would you describe that?
You're going to be very surprised, but at the end of the day, it's a question of extra tennis things. But nobody knows that. Now we're going to share her because she stopped both of them to play tennis. And Justine was this issue with her mom and her past and all that things that bring her and help her to succeed. And you have to know when I meet Li Na and I was asked to go into the team, this team was a mess. Everybody fight with each other, and she's almost divorced at that point. And the only thing that I did, besides training is easy, is to find a way how to leave those people together, because they love each other, but tennis broke everything. Then I have to find a way to say, okay, guys, we try to, and that takes, when she win an Australian Open, it's good in terms of tennis, but she has tennis to win no one, many of them. But she couldn't because of that. Then when she get into this, and she really enjoying. She tell me at the end of the tournament, say, it's the first time that I enjoy my time. When I win, am I ready to work the next day? Why? Because the atmosphere and her private life is good. It's in balance. That's why I say forehand backhands, yes. But at the end of the day, if I don't solve that problem, that takes 1 year, 2. And finally, they are very smart, both of them, to realize that it's the way it is. They live to be together. It's not the other way. And now, when I see them today, I'm so happy. It's more than Grand Slam now. It's 2 Grand Slam today.
But it's amazing. It's sort of like you have to identify what's making her tick, and what's the missing bit, and then you can hone in, because it's totally different with Justine and Lina there, huh?
The thing is the fascinating of our job is that you have kids. I have kids today. I take a wonderful time, because they are wonderful. They are passionate, respectful, committed. And they listen. They are there. They give you that. It's a gift. That what I can do other than give, not my best, more than that, because they deserve it. Then the connection, yeah, respect and everything is there. You don't have to go any further. And that is why I do this. And that's why I say no more high-level tennis, now development. Because what you receive from those kids, you have to be a coach to understand, because it's a very strong feeling. And you can work 10 hours, you don't even feel the fatigue. You go there, because they're there.
Someone else would like a question?
As a player, we always face tough losses, and as you were a player earlier, what would you suggest that we do when we face those tough losses?
Yeah. What I suggest is, let's say, it's not difficult to answer, but it's so personal. You know what I mean? It's something that, as long as you know what you want, as long as you believe in who you are and what you want, you can go through everything. But you don't have to forget that. It's not about the level that you have. It's not about the tournaments that you win. It's that what you do respond at what you like to be. And this is the key. If you have that, tournaments or no, you're going to win, and you're going to go through the process all the time.
Carlos, I'll read out one of the questions which relates. So many players in Hong Kong want to play professional tennis in the future. But what stages of growth will this pathway take them? What requirements must be met at each stage to advance to the next stage, where we can really consider themselves to be professional players?
Yeah, it's a very good question, in the way that I'm very pragmatic. Say, what means a professional tennis player? In my perspective, a professional tennis player is the one that is, first, he do only tennis, first. And the near future is the one that is able to live by his own tennis career. Don't need anything else than that. These two things. Now, how to get into there is a process that you live now with the 14, 16 and under. And, you know, in the academy, we have a lot of kids today that they spend 4 or 5 years with us. And they are in the situation to the cross path and say, okay, what I do? And they come to me and say, what I have to do? I say, I don't know. And that is a problem. Many times we like to give them an advice and say, you have to do this. I don't have a clue what you have to do. You're going to feel it. I know that. Your parents support you, and at the end of the day is the question that kills everybody. You believe in what you're going to do or not? and the voice inside have always the right answer. The problem is to have the courage to assume what the inner voice tells you.
Related to that, another question, but it's very relevant for Hong Kong. It's trying to pursue the career as a professional player and to try and reach the top. But how do you balance the combination of having to study and do all your other things? Is it a matter of time management? I mean, can you do other sports? Like, how do you balance that when you see a lot of your players in the development?
First of all, I'm very concerned about the education. Okay, then a balanced person, and especially the kids, needs to study, needs to socialize, and needs to play. Then the problems come now. How to combine all those things, and you have to put priorities on that. Right? Then we can do a normal school, and you're going to find out, and then it's to you to say, I go or I don't go. Give you an example. I have to do a normal school. I like to do normal school, go every day, but I have to play 20 tournaments a year and leave my country 25 weeks a year. The director of the school is going to say, forget it, right? Okay. First thing, I accept to go to the online system, yes or no? If it's yes, I have the capacity to go to the tournaments and study into the tournaments, because it's the way it is. We have my coaches, they are obliged to put the kids study at least 2 to 3 hours, 2 or 3 times a week during the tournament, because the parents kill me when I do that. It's a commitment. Yeah, now, if you ask me, it's better that they don't do it, I'm going to tell you no. No. Not because you never know. No, because the education is first. I don't see an uneducated tennis player that after the career succeeds something. I don't believe in that. Now, the second point is, I'm ready to leave my family 6 months a year and go everywhere in the world and live like at the beginning, especially like a nomad. Maybe yes, maybe not. We know what we're talking about. Second thing. And the third one is, I really believe in myself, and we have the funds and the capacity financially to do it. Then, it's possible to answer those questions, but it's not a magic thing. You have to do sacrifices. You have to choose. When you choose, you sacrifice things. And it's not going to be easy. And on top of that, no guarantee of, and when I say no guarantee, it's a little bit tricky. No guarantee that you're going to be top player or professional, but for sure, if you do it, you're going to be realized and fulfilled man and woman. All of them that they believe that they can do it, they didn't do it. Today are not the girls of the guys to say, if I do this and that, I will succeed. No. I do my best, like myself. I do my best, I'm not good enough. It's a crime? No, it's a reality. But nobody can tell me, Carlos, you didn't give anything. I give anything. But I couldn't make it. But I make other things. Yeah.
Mental aspects and physical fitnesses in your coaching to keep the young players to keep going?
Wow. Okay, yeah, there's still give the I like that, because when the kids give the yeah, it's not that easy, girl. Now we're gonna talk. I like that. Okay, that you see that is what is extremely good. A kid ask you to have the possibility to ask a question. That means that the atmosphere is open to. And now we're going to talk. Okay. Talking about you. Tell me how you combine. How you do it. How you think. Just tell me. You play tennis, right? Okay. Then you ask me how you combine the technical, the physical, how you do it. Good question, eh? Oh, go ahead. How many times you play a week?
5,
Okay. 5 hours?
7 hours.
Okay. How many times physical you did in a week? None? Okay. Okay. Then what do you think about that? Is too much? Is not enough? You tired about it?
Yeah.
Okay. How old you are? How old are you?
9.
Okay. It's right at 9 years old, 5 hours is a lot, but it's okay. Then the thing is all about ages. And in the ages, for example, for you, because we're going to put you as an example, what we're going to try to do is first, like I said in the beginning, you must have fun. You have to enjoy. You have to move and have some friends to talk also when you play. It's very important, because if you don't have that, when I'm going to ask you, do this and that, you're going to say, Carlos, give me a break. Let me, okay, I'm not enjoying like this, right? Okay. Then, when you go into work, for example, with Roman physically, you're going to combine not as a 15 or 16 years old kid that is going to do physical training. You're going to have fun again, and you're going to play games, and at the same time, you're going to do your physical training, but you don't even realize that you do physical training. This is in the way that we combine, but at the end of the day, it's depending on the player age and player's morphology. You cannot train the same way, you at 9 years old, and another kid at 14 or 15 years old, a man or female, right? A professional or a young player. It's always about balance. Not too much, not too little, like us, always in the middle. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go to my list again. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question before I go to the list. Do you think sometimes there's an overemphasis on the coach in a player development? And by that I mean, do you think some players sometimes don't take enough responsibility for their own tennis? Like, you know, we're both living in a town, so we're both arranging to practice with each other, and we're going to go to the gym together and do things that aren't reliant on a coach? Or do you feel like it's generally, you can't get anywhere without a coach?
It's a good question, because I think that what is the coach role at the end of the day? And I think that it's extremely important, not for those things, I think. The coach is there in different ages to develop the players in different ways. But if we're talking about kids, it's not that. It's more be there and put situations on and off the court in order to solicitate the kid to respond to different problems that you put into the path in order to, let's say, increase his capacity of adaptation and make him grow and find the opportunities and find solutions. When you're talking about the top level. This is completely another way to approach the person. And I give you an example. When I travel with Justine, I have, besides the coaching role that I have, I need to have another task for her. But the difference is this and this, not everything. And my role is there and there. After that, don't count on me. It's extremely important. With Lina, I only coaching and work with them personally. All the rest, trainings, physio, everything. Dennis arrange everything. He's the man of the situation. Then the difficulties again on that situation is that you go too close. And the players take you as a coach, as a friend, as a guide to go together to the fitness, to reserve the taxi, to book the flights. And at the end of the day, you are a coach, a travel agency, a concierge. You know what I mean? That is, for me, important.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think at the younger level, there is opportunity for when the coach isn't always around to create an environment for yourself. You know, call someone to hit some balls. You know,
I have a lot of difficulty with some parents, but then when you explain them, he understands. Say, okay, we go to the tournament. And I go to the tournament, and I go to the tournament. I need a partner. Go to find one. I need a court. Go to reserve one. I need the balls. Go to ask for balls. I know your boy. I'm your coach. And if I don't put yourself in the situation to find solutions to practice, what you're going to do in a tennis match is going to be a nightmare. Got it? Then it's not because I'm lazy, I like to say, it's because if I facilitate too much, then when he's going or she going to face real problems, she's going to say, hey, coach, what I have to do? I don't have any idea. That's why it's so important that.
so the coach is really teaching self-sufficiency, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, just like your question before, you took it on yourself to ask. That's what was very good.
Yeah. I think it's perfect.
Yeah. Okay, another question from here. As Lee Na's coach, what qualities did you think Lee Na has that other players can learn from, especially the characteristic performances for during her matches?
I think the first is the dedication. Is somebody that is so dedicated and what she puts so much on the court and outside when we ask her to do something. That make a huge impact. But when I meet her the first time, she's not convinced about that. Because every time is too many people around that take the credit of what she did, that at the end of the day, she feels like, what I am, who I did. I win the Runner Slam, I win Roland Garros, really? It's something that she tell me. Then, at the end of the day, is when she realized that she has this gift, she can do everything. When she realized that, she don't have any scare to go through things and to try. At 31 years old, it's not easy. That's why I say she has a dedication at that age. It was amazing.
I have one more. Does anyone else have some questions? Because, yes.
Thanks. Nice to meet you here, Ms. Carlos.
Thank you.
May I know your understanding of just the core and the absolute strength training? How to find the balance? Thanks so much.
Okay. It's stress?
Yeah, the core and the absolute strength training. Yeah, how to find the balance between them.
With Justine, right? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very good question because
Thanks so much.
It's extremely difficult. And we have a player here that I play today. I work today. And it's very funny because first you have to realize that you have the player that is not like the other players. Because you have a player that is twice as bigger. And you say, okay, I have to compete against that. Then the first thing is, how are you going to do? And say, okay, what I can do, what I cannot do. And we start like this. And I ask her, you can beat Serena and Venus, Henin? No possible. Then you start to put things on the side. That not. At the end of the day, you say, okay, what I can do in order to try to beat them. And then is that the complexity of the physical process, because it's a process that takes more than 2 years to bring her to that level. Because you have a person which is 166, and she's extremely fast. But to be extremely fast, she has to be extremely powerful here. Then to give you an example, she was so big here that she have the pants that she used is 3 size bigger to go through this. But here, she have to put a belt because if it's not, the pants goes down. You know, it's completely, and that, I say that because for a woman, is you have to accept that. Your body is completely transformed. Here, because she's small, and she hit the balls there. Then here, she's overdeveloped. Because if it's not, she cannot make it. And she's always there. Then she have developed all that part as a man.
That means just for the tennis, just should be the whole body.
Exactly. Then what you have to explain to a woman, not to the man, to the woman, because it's normal, is don't worry. After your career, you're going to be a woman again. Yeah. I always say that. And he was...
And you're still working for her, or what?
If you see her today, you say, okay, you're right. But at the beginning, she asked me, you look at this. And I say, okay, you like to win. I don't have another way. Then it's more mental also to convince somebody that he gonna handle a body that she almost don't recognize during a period of her career because she's too big and too strong. Yeah, but at the end of the day, she goes through that, and now she enjoys much more her body and everything. Okay. The transition is very long because you have to know that she was 1.5 years behind the growing process. She's too young. When she's 15, she looks, or 16, she looks as a 14 years old girl, normal. But she's 1.5 years older. Then for all that, we have to wait until she's... Exactly. And the problem that takes time and frustration, because you see the other girls that's growing higher, faster, and they bigger and higher, and you have to wait. Then it was mentally a lot of frustration until she can do it. And then all the anger of those years, they come into the court, and that help her to perform. Yeah. You're welcome.
well, another question here, and this relates to Lina. Can you tell us about her typical warm-up, cool-down, and recovery training, which was separate from her playing? Did she have a regular routine? Was it the same thing?
Let's say that all the players, the top players, in the case of Lina, she have always the same routine, and it's not with me. The warm-up routine is with the physio. Okay? And then she come in with me to prepare the match. But during the day, she have a warming up with the physio, which takes 30 to 40 minutes before practice. Then at the end of the day, a cooling down with the physio, which takes 45 minutes to an hour every day. And during matches, besides those things at the beginning of the day, she has with me the warming up for the match, which is a particular warming up that takes 20 minutes. It's very energetic, very mental. Visualization is 5 or 10 minutes before start the match, but it's always the same one. And at the end of the day, we have the debriefing, which is we go through the match and we analyze all the match and we put the goals for the next one. This is something that is systematically, yeah.
With your many years in the pro circuit, you see pro players come and go. In your opinion, what are the top maybe 2 reasons why people cannot stay in the pro circuit, and how can we or the young players can learn from those experiences?
Say again.
It's probably meaning how do you the top players, how do they keep playing, if you like,
Stay
in, like that they keep finding a way forward to keep playing?
Or on the flip side, the pro players didn't make it to stay for a long period of time.
Sure.
Yeah. Then concerning this part, I think that today tennis evolution was amazing, and you see players today. I don't know, as Nadal is 30, 37, and you have Novak is 35, 36. Then I think it's 2 things. First of all, the preparation and the nutrition take and all the things around the preparation improve a lot. Science is bringing to tennis something that 20 years ago you don't have. Okay? Then, for me, it's something that you use already when you are top, I think. Now, if we're talking about how to educate the kids and prepare the kids to that, to keep going longer, I say it's a question of management now. Because you have, this is one of the most biggest fights that I have now, that for me the kids, when I say kids, for me a kid is 16, 17 years old, they play too much. They spend too much time in tournaments and don't have the time to go into the process and to work in the long-term process. That makes that what we have today, and even in men's tennis, the level, even if the quality and the speed grows, if you see the quality of the skills of the players, we are in the situation in which you don't see too much tennis, actually. You agree with that or not? You know what I mean? You agree with the fact that today the players, in the way that they play, they're going to keep longer, but with the tennis that they produce, besides Novak and a little bit, when I say they are exceptional, but when I see Novak, Sinner, we are very good players, but I see Novak, Federer, Murray. For me, it's a difference with Alcaraz and all those guys today, right? Then today I think that we are in the situation in which men's tennis start to change also. And that for me, the tennis become a little bit less attractive than the longevity. I'm not really convinced how long a player as Alcaraz is going to play. When you see, I don't know if you see the last year, how many injuries this guy has. And now Sinner start with this is no good. The hips, is very tough, that one. Then that proof that today the future that we can see is not bright for that. Because the exigence, the speed, the power, for me, is too much for the players today. And the material continue to evolve, and the game become more powerful, more fast, and your body cannot handle it. I'm really, worried about that.
Carlos, I guess on the other side, though, with the women, there's a lot of women now, There's quite a few women that have made the comeback after having children. And do you think it's more that the players, it's really all about the management of just of every aspect? Like, as you said, you can use the science, you can use different things, but...
Now you have comebacks and comebacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
You have a good comebacks, and you have the other comebacks.
Yeah, I guess Wozniacki's half a comeback sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for me, it's two reasons. The science, for sure, but I still complaining with the level. The level of the women today is not, when I say the level of the player, is extremely good. The capacity of those women to play is amazing. When you compare the quality that they produce versus their talent, is a huge gap. Because on the court, they do 40% of her capacities, I'm sure. Then you see a very, with all the respect, poor tennis at the end of the day. Now it started to change a little bit, but what we see in the last 2, 3, 4 years is highway, boom, 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 and the hardest is the best one. And where you see that in the results, besides the Siwatek today, is everybody wins or loses, and you don't have the first top 10 players. I don't know how many of them in a row they reach a quarterfinals in the Grand Slam. You have to really go. And besides Iwatek, all the rest of the winners are changing. Then that shows that the game accelerate that much that you don't have answers because it's too fast. You don't have possibilities to create game because it's too fast. And when a girl that coming back from have 1 or 2 children and is in good shape, when the other ones, they go and play, and men, they don't care, but the girls, they much more emotional. Then the emotional aspect play too much. It's beyond the game. Yeah.
Well, just picking up on your question before, and this might be another part of this, but I think we all hope that players, when they're taking up tennis and they're at the academy or they're in the player development program, they keep playing, they find a way to play into their 20s and into their, like to keep going, not to quit after juniors. And so there's a pathway normally would be go to college or something like this. But do you still see in Europe that it's possible to go to Europe, play lots of small tournaments, week in, week out, make money, so that even if you're not ranked top 50, top 100, that you can still find a way to play and keep playing your tennis for a few years, or is that kind of the old days and it's dried up, or
No,
it's still there?
You can continue to do it. What it changed is the mindset of the player. Before, we use those tournaments to build up a career. You have a lot of your colleagues in Australia came to Europe to play, and they became, Mark Woodford is one of those.
And they'd get their car and drive around, play 2 tournaments a week, and then if they lose in a bigger tournament, go back and play a small tournament. It just, that mentality, I just was wondering.
The mentality is just, they love what they do. Today, when you do this, it's like you are a player apart. You are not good. They standard you. You feel like, and that is something that bothers me, because in those tournaments, the level is extremely good. And you can, for answer your question, you can win money on those.
So you still can do it.
And you can play during the year and have a decent life for some years and have a very good level of tennis and knowledge of tennis.
And see some great places and some great cities. And you can play club tennis in Germany, you can play it in Holland, you can play it in Belgium, you can play it in France. You still can do that. And it'd be great for people to understand a little more so that they keep staying in the game, into their late 20s, 30s, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
We had one question here.
Thanks, Carlos. Very interesting presentation. You played in an era where serve and volley or the finesse of tennis was very, very important. And now we see people just drilling from baseline to baseline for 6 hours under 40 degrees in Australia. So do you see over a period of time that this fatigue is going to set in and we are going to go back to potentially a serve and volley kind of a scenario? That how long can people keep going on just playing long baseline to baseline matches? Do you see that change happening?
I really fan of that, Pat Rafter. I really fan of that guy, or Stefan Edberg. But unfortunately, if the material don't stop to evolve, it's not possible. It's just when you serve to get into the net, you have to be flash, because it's not possible. Then hit a big serve and go to the net versus hit a huge serve, stay back and play the forehand. Everybody choose already. If you see a tennis match, what is it? They serve wide and you do this. And the other guy have to run very fast. And that's why I say the structure of the game is already done and become poor, because it's like you say, okay, you see many things, but you see that for 6 hours of time, and at the end of the day, you say, you're going to take a coffee, you're coming back, it's 3 hours after, and still, wow, it's amazing athletes, but at least you still seeing the same thing. Then I love not only the serve and volley, the different kind of games. That is the richness of tennis. And the speed and power make that, let's say, we lose that today. It's mostly the same thing. And it's not good for tennis. And when you train those kids today, you have to take that in consideration, because today what we say, you need a serve or a forehand. If you don't have those two, play another sport, because you cannot make it. And when you see the TV, it's the reality. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think so.
Thank you so much. It was a delightful evening and we learned a lot. I just had one question. So for the youngsters, not for the pros that you work with, as they start going for tournaments, it's like 1 or 2 matches every day. There's some wins, there's some losses. And we so there's a lot of emotion involved, and we also try and encourage them to reflect so that they can go back to their coaches and work on the development phase. So what would you suggest that do they pen down their reflections on a daily basis? But often that contradicts with the preparation for the next match because we're saying, forget a loss and move on, and there's another day tomorrow. So we're always in this quandary as parents who go with them, that do we encourage them to reflect on a daily basis, tournament basis? Where do you lose the depth?
Let's say that as a parent, you are in a very, very difficult position.
I agree.
Because it's depending. If the kids lost, the exchange could be very tough, right? And it's better to don't say anything. In opposition to that is when they win, and both of them are not good. Now, if you don't have a coach and you have to do it by yourself, and what I'm going to ask you to do is extremely difficult. Just don't say anything. Be a mom, be there. You have to, but you like to do something and say something, but you know that your kids, they expect that you say something too. If they lose, if they win, no. Just try to be a mom, which is, I accept, extremely difficult. And let them, let's say, deal with the emotions, because the emotions are on both sides, when they win and when they lose. Euphoric, very sad. But at the end of the day, the joy and the sadness, they have to manage themselves. And you're there. I think it's the most important to do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's also tough when you're dealing with, you have to play the next day. The kid might win and feeling really happy, but got to settle down and get ready for the next day's match.
Yeah, what the parents can do actually is say, look, and it's useful. Say, look, you win, but tomorrow is another day. And you put in the situation to say tomorrow could be a win, and it's always important that you can formulate the fact that tomorrow could be a win, could be a lose. As long as you do your best, it's all that you can do. Then for the player, it's a message to say, at least it's my responsibility, but both things can happen. And this is important to send the responsibility to them. Then when he goes to the court, she or he knows that everything can happen. Then I'm ready. Very important.
So how can kids in Asia that might not be as developed physically or in the area of fitness keep up with Western players or European players?
Okay. What do you think that you can do? What we're going to put another way. Why you think that those guys have better things than you? What makes you have that thought, that idea?
I guess because a lot of the players from Europe that I play against are a lot more physically developed, a lot more taller, and have a lot more muscle, I guess, are able to move around the court much faster and hit the ball much faster.
Okay, good. Then it's a fact. You see it. You live it yourself. My question is now, what you going to do?
I guess you need to put more hours into fitness than them and try to develop that area more than them to try and keep up. But of course, if you do that, you need to sacrifice hours of tennis.
Okay. You believe that you can compete with those guys or not?
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Okay. Then that means that you're ready to go through the process. Because first, okay, this guy beat me because he's better than me there and there and there. Can I reach that level and go even harder and better than him? Yes or no? Only you know that. Then as soon as you have the answer, work. Work and work and work. In the right and structured way, and you're going to make it. As long as you believe that you can do it. It's not secret. But you are already the right approach and the right view of the reality. Okay, I know. Now, go. No problem. It's a solution. Good.
Hi, Carlos. Thanks for your
Hi,
talk today.
Thank you.
I think just going back to that question of academics and tennis, I was wondering what your thoughts are on players who, Hong Kong, we're quite focused on academics. I think a lot of Asian countries are.
Yeah.
On encouraging your kids going to college, for example, in the US. I think a lot of people look at US as a good place to play tennis. But if you look at some of the pros, especially Coco Gauff or a lot of these other pros, they didn't go to college and went straight into the pros. So I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that. What is better? I know it might be a difficult question because everybody's different.
No. I think that it's depending. I'm going to say first is a parent's education. For me, it's about that. It's very personal. Now, if you ask me what I suggest, because it's a personal question, I'm going to say, look, first is about you and your son or your daughter, first. Second thing is, she or he can try, and it's not because of that he's going to quit the school or whatever. And it's not because of that he don't go to the university after. My point is that today we put all pros is really good, study, academics, not good. When I say that is about tennis I talk. For me, doesn't make any difference. As long as the kid is believe in what he do and what he try to be. I like to be a professional tennis player, and the parents are agree with that. Okay, we go. At a certain point, you're going to see if he or she is Coco Gauff or not. You're going to see it. And I say sometimes, if you continue to study, at a certain point you finish your secondary school, your humanity, I don't know here what you call that, is when you reach just before go to the university. I say always to the certain parents, I say, he go professional, yes, no, and say, first, what your kid wants. You agree with that? To try 1 of 2 years. And 1 of 2 years, you know directly. And now it's a question of education, background. You can accept. In the case that this doesn't make it, to start the university a little bit later, I have a lot of friends that they succeeded very high degree of academics, and they start at 20, 21 years old, and they are former tennis players. And I have ones that they succeed, and they become 15, 16 in the world, and they follow the same path. One thing in common, they are very happy and real, and they realize themselves, both of them. Because at the moment to make the choice, everybody is aligned with the decision. And I think that is so personal. But at the end of the day, I think that you have to support your kids. When I say support, it is to accompany them to take a decision, because it's not easy. Okay? But it's not a good decision. It's the decision that must be taken in order of what you accept and what your kids want. If it's acceptable in your education or not. But it's a very difficult thing. Now, academics, I'm always supportive of that. It's the base of the human being. This is no question about it.
Anyone else, any questions? Or no? Carlos and Romain, thank you so much. it's been quite a long night, but very informative. We really appreciate your efforts. I hope everybody's got something from this tonight. I certainly have, and I think it's just been fantastic to have you here. You're here all week. You guys are working very hard the next few days, so we appreciate that. And so, look, I think everyone, big round of applause for Carlos and for Romain.
Thank you so much to everyone. And from myself and Roman, it's a real pleasure to work with the kids here and spend one time to help the federation to really put a good program and a good process from now on. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.